"Don't you dare argue with my wife in her house," my son snapped, pointing at the floor like it carried her name. We were standing in my kitchen. My kettle was hissing, my apron was dusty with flour, and the deed, tucked in a file behind the sugar, has had my name on it for 32 years. The words hit me so hard I had to grip the edge of the counter to steady my hands. Her house. He said it as if I were a guest, as if this tiled floor hadn't known the sound of my shoes since the day they were laid. If you're hearing my voice, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Stories travel. Respect should too. My name is Ruth Delgado, but everybody calls me Nana Ruth, even grown men who build skyscrapers for a living, including the one glaring at me that afternoon. My son's name is Adam. He used to sit on this counter while I cooled bread, kicking the drawers with his heels, and promising he'd buy me a big house one day so I wouldn't have to fix leaky windows alone. I told him I didn't need big, I needed mine, so I made one. I came to this city with my husband, Luis, and a suitcase that smelled faintly of oranges and hope. We rented a room the size of a closet and took turns holding the baby so the other could sleep. Luis laid brick all day and repaired cheap cars at night. I scrubbed houses and ironed shirts until my fingertips went numb. When a foreclosed lot opened up on a street nobody wanted, we bought it for $4,200 and said grace over dirt. For 3 years, we lived in a trailer behind the lot and poured every extra dollar into cinder blocks, pipes, and a roof we prayed wouldn't whistle. When the first Christmas came under that roof, we didn't have a tree. We had a beam with tinsel taped to it, and we laughed until we cried. Then life did what it does. Luis's heart stuttered once in a summer heat wave and didn't catch up. I learned to sign permits, haggle over shingles, and keep the work truck running with a bungee cord and a blessing. Adam grew into his shoulders and into a stubborn kindness that looked like his father's. His little sister, Sophia, learned to make beans that don't apologize. I sold my grandmother's sewing machine to help put Adam through engineering school. I cut my hair short to save on shampoo. I fixed fences for the neighbors for $50 a time. It was enough to keep the lights on and our pride intact. Adam met Riley at a company picnic with free ribs and terrible music. She wore a yellow dress and heels too high for grass. She laughed like a bell and had a way of scanning rooms that made you feel cataloged. She worked in marketing. She smelled like expensive hand cream and crisis plans. When he brought her to Sunday dinner, she set her purse on my table like a small gold animal and said, "What a cozy little place," the way a realtor says, "needs work." I poured iced tea and smiled. You can choose to be offended or you can choose to take notes. Little things became louder things. Riley rearranged my living room to let it breathe, which meant pushing the sofa under the window I avoid because the afternoon sun makes you squint through every show. She replaced my curtains with gauzy white ones that looked like a wedding dress had been cut into strips. She bought 3 trays of scented candles and set them on my coffee table, then complained that the house always smelled like onions when I cooked. "No offense," she'd add, which is what people say when they intend offense but prefer their hands clean. I told myself it was adjustment. I told myself Adam was in love. The day he said they were getting married, I hugged him and pressed my eyes into his shirt so he wouldn't see me cry. I gave them $2,000 I'd saved for a new roof because the corner over the laundry room sighs in every storm. "For the wedding," I said. "Start with joy." After the honeymoon, Adam asked if they could move in for 6 months while they saved for a down payment. I said yes before he finished the sentence. 6 months of full rooms. 6 months of dinner for 3. I wasn't prepared for how quickly 2 words could slide furniture without moving a single piece. Her house. It started with the bathroom. Riley likes long showers and hotter water than the city recommends. The heater worked as hard as an old horse. I learned to get up before dawn to bathe or accept a cold rinse. Then came the kitchen. Riley installed one of those spice racks that looks like a science project and moved my pots to a high shelf I can't reach without a step stool. "We're optimizing," she said. I smiled and then climbed the stool and pretended the climb didn't hurt. She invited friends over on weeknights and told them the story of how they were stuck in his childhood home until the market cooled, saying it with a laugh that wasn't a laugh. One of the friends asked when they'd tear out the dated tile. I ran my hand over the counter I had grouted at midnight while both babies slept and said, Never. But nobody heard me over the blender, Sophia noticed. She comes over every Thursday with flowers and a wicked sense of justice. You okay, Ma? She'd ask quietly while we washed dishes. I'm fine, I'd say, because mothers lie when the truth will make their children angry. Let it settle. But it didn't settle. It curdled. The day the words came out of Adam's mouth, Riley had moved my basil and mint to a shadowed corner because she needed a cafe table by the sunny window for her laptop. My basil has been with me longer than some friendships. It likes the sun, I said. Please put them back. She said, we're making the space functional. I said, the space was functional before you brought a desk to the breakfast nook. She folded her arms. Adam stood up from the stool and squared his shoulders like a man stepping between traffic and a dog. Don't you dare argue with my wife in her house, he said, voice hard enough to crack. My spoon hit the sink. The kettle screamed. My heart went very quiet. I looked at him. I looked at the notepad stuck to the fridge with the grocery list in my handwriting. I looked at the little chip in the tile by the back door where Sophia dropped a jar a decade ago and cried as if she had shattered the whole place. Her house? I asked calmly. Who pays the taxes on this house, Adam? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Riley put a hand on his arm and said, we're all family here. We should share decisions. I didn't shout. Age gives you a gift if you learn to open it. Silence that makes other people hear themselves. I wiped the counter very clean. I turned off the kettle. I folded the dish towel with care. Then I said, I love you, son. Dinner is ready. He didn't eat much. I did the dishes. They went for a drive. That night, I lay awake and counted all the times I had chosen peace over respect, all the times I told myself I was being dramatic, all the times I swallowed my name to avoid conflict. I thought about Luis and what he'd say. He'd say, you can forgive with your heart and still keep your keys in your hand. At dawn, I made coffee and moved my basil back to the window. The sun felt like a friend who'd been waiting for me to call. Riley and Adam left that night with the kind of silence couples use when they want the other person to do the speaking. I stood at the sink and watched the window go dark, the basil leaves outlined in streetlight. In the morning, Sophia came by with a bag of oranges and the look she saves for problem solving. Tell me everything, she said, sliding onto a stool. I told her about the words, about the way Riley's chin lifted when Adam repeated them, about how my own voice had felt like a small bird trapped under glass. Sophia peeled an orange like she was undressing a truth. Do you want me to talk to him? She asked. No, I said. He has to hear his own echo before he'll notice it. That week, the house felt like a waiting room. Riley stopped making little comments and started making big plans. She pinned paint samples to my wall and talked to Adam about flow. She ordered a set of bar stools and had them delivered to my porch without asking. When I said I didn't need bar stools, she smiled. We do, she said. It's our kitchen now. She emphasized our the way salespeople emphasize free. When her friends came by on Wednesday, I heard one of them whisper, imagine trying to live like this, and another reply, it's temporary. I'd gut the whole thing. They were standing beside the wall where I hung Luis's level and trowel, tools that built their temporary. I asked Adam to sit with me Friday afternoon. I made coffee the way he likes it, too sweet, and put a plate of buttered toast between us like a truce. Son, I began, I want you happy here. I want Riley comfortable. But there are rules in this house. Not because I'm stubborn, because I am the one who keeps it standing. Ask before you change things. Leave my kitchen functional for my body, not your Pinterest. And don't ever speak to me like a trespasser again. He set his cup down too hard. I can't win, Ma, he said. If I defend you, I'm a bad husband. If I defend her, I'm a bad son. You don't have to choose, I said evenly. You have to be decent. That looks the same in both directions. Riley came in halfway through and leaned against the door frame, arms folded. We can make a list, she offered brightly, as if we were planning a baby shower. We'll all sign it. Mutual respect. The words were right. The tone was wrong. She wanted paperwork where there should have been manners. No list, I said. A culture, she shrugged. Okay, she said, but the corner of her mouth said otherwise. Friday is their date night. They left after dinner in Adam's truck, Riley's perfume trailing like a signature. I washed plates slowly, listening to the house settle, listening to the part of me that had been quiet for too long. Then I picked up the phone and called a man named Eli, who once fixed the front door when the latch stuck. He's a locksmith with kind eyes and a laugh that sounds like the end of an old song. "You sure?" he asked after I explained. "I'm sure," I said. "I need new keys for my old life." He arrived with a toolbox and the kind of gentleness that doesn't condescend. As he worked, he told me about his mother and how she moved into his place for 6 months and stayed 8 years, and how they learned to knock before entering each other's thoughts. "You'd be surprised how many calls like this I get," he said softly. "You're not cruel. You're making a boundary you can hold in your hand." We changed the front, the back, the garage. I reprogrammed the opener with a printed instruction sheet that looked like it had been written by someone who mistrusts nouns. I handed Eli $180 in cash and the extra lemon bars Sophia had left. "Bless you," I said. "Bless you back," he replied, tucking the foil into his pocket. I put Adam's and Riley's things in tidy boxes, work boots, a stack of folded t-shirts, the gaudy candles Riley never lit. I didn't touch the framed photo of their wedding. It's their memory and not a weapon. I left the boxes in their room and closed the door, not like a punishment, but like a period. Then I made myself tea and sat by the basil. The plant looked pleased. At 1 in the morning, the driveway gravel shifted like a thought. The key scraped. A pause, more scraping. Then knuckles on wood. "Ma?" Adam called, trying for casual and landing on anxious. Riley's voice higher. "The lock's broken." Adam tried the back. "The garage. The side door." Finally, the knocking turned to pounding. "Mom!" he shouted. "Open up!" I let my breath slow. I thought of the nights I had held a feverish child while the kettle rattled and the rain drummed and wished for sleep. I thought of the mornings I had pushed a lawnmower with a broken wheel and told myself I was stronger than I felt. "Ma, please," Adam said. His voice cracked on please, the way it did when he was 10 and had broken the neighbor's window and wanted me to tell Mr. Alvarez it was an accident. Riley's words came through the panel, thinner. "This is ridiculous," she said, then quieter. "I'm cold. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. The house has good insulation." It held my silence like a friend holds your coat. After a while, the pounding stopped. I heard the truck start, hesitate, start again, gravel, quiet. At 8 the next morning, my phone rang. "You changed the locks?" Adam asked. He'd chosen anger over apology. It made him sound taller on the line. "Yes," I said. "It is my right. We live here," he said. "You've locked us out of our home." "No," I replied. "I have locked my door. You are adults. You can request entry like adults. You can also request hotels," he sputtered. Riley's voice flared in the background. "Tell her it's illegal," she hissed. I imagined her on a borrowed sofa with a borrowed blanket, furious at the audacity of consequences. "If you want to discuss legality," I said evenly, "the deed, tax bill, utilities, and insurance all have one name, mine. You may not like my boundary. It remains." He hung up without goodbye. They called 5 more times that day, the shape of each call different: bargain, threat, plea, logic, performative concern. "We need our clothes," Adam said. "We'll talk after church," I answered, neatly deferring what he wanted for what I needed. "We'll call the police," Riley announced on the 4th call. "Please do," I said. "Ask them whom they return a key to." Sophia came by with blueberry muffins and a look that said she had slept badly on my behalf. I told her what I'd done. She hugged me so hard my ribs complained. "I am proud of you," she said into my shoulder. "You are not a doormat with good cooking." I laughed, a sound that startled me. "He'll come," she added. "Not with her. Not at first. He needs to hear his own voice change. That night I slept. Truly slept. The kind that makes morning taste different. Sunday was quiet until late morning when a shadow moved across my front window and a familiar knock tapped at the rhythm of my name. "Ma," Adam said softly. I came alone. I stood at the door and rested my hand against the wood that has kept us warm for decades. "Are you ready to speak with respect?" I asked. He took a breath I could hear through the barrier. "Yes," he said. "Please." I unlatched the chain and opened the door just wide enough to see his face. He looked like he hadn't slept. 2-day beard, shirt wrinkled, eyes that used to shine with plans, now murky with worry. He kept his hands in his pockets, like a boy visiting the principal. "I'm sorry," he said, voice rough. "For the way I spoke to you? I shouldn't have." I was out of line. I let the door open the rest of the way and stepped back. "Come in," I said. "We'll talk at the table. That's where we have always done our thinking." He sat where his father used to sit, because some chairs are more than wood. I poured coffee and slid the sugar toward him out of habit. He took 3 spoons like he always does when he needs courage. For a moment we didn't talk. The house made its quiet house sounds, the fridge humming, a sparrow tapping at the gutter, the little hiss from the radiator that never learned to whisper. "I don't want us to be like this," he said finally. "I don't want to choose between my wife and my mother." "You don't have to choose," I answered softly. "You have to respect. That choice makes itself if you let it." He rubbed his temple. "She's in shock," he said. "She says you humiliated her." I set my cup down. People who are used to taking without asking feel humiliated the first time the word no stands up. That doesn't make the no wrong. He winced, not because the sentence was cruel, but because it was correct. We were at the Interstate Inn last night." He laughed once without humor. "The continental breakfast is a tray of pre-wrapped muffins that taste like they forgot the wheat. We don't have money to keep doing that." "I'm sorry for the discomfort," I said. Discomfort teaches quickly what comfort never bothers to say. He looked at the basil on the windowsill as if it might offer a verdict. "Ma, can I at least get my work clothes? My steel-toe boots? I have to be on a site at 7 tomorrow. I can't show up in sneakers." "Of course," I said. "Your things are boxed and labeled. I'll bring them to the porch. Riley can send you a list of anything else she needs, and I'll leave it at the door at a scheduled time." He nodded, grateful and wounded at once. "She wants to come with me," he added. "Not today," I said. "Today is for the son who remembered his manners enough to knock." He didn't argue. We sat in another little pocket of quiet. "Do you think I'm a bad husband?" he asked, so softly I almost didn't catch it. "No," I said. "I think you're a new husband who thinks love is a tug-of-war rope." "It isn't. It's a table. There's room if you don't knock the legs out." He tried to smile. "I'm bad at tables," he said. "You built many with your father," I reminded him. "You just forgot which tools you used." He finished his coffee and stood, then sat again. "She's not all bad," he said, like a man arguing with a jury. "She's generous. She's funny when she's not trying to win. She grew up different. Her mom—" He stopped. "I don't need her resume," I said kindly. "I need her apology, not the kind you make to get back indoors, the kind that knows what it did and names it." He nodded, throat working. "She says you never liked her," he blurted. "From the first night? She says you judged her when she called the house cozy." "I liked that she made you laugh," I said. "I did not like the way she treated my house and me like an obstacle course." "Both things can be true. It is not a crime to be particular. It is a crime to be cruel." He pressed his palms to his eyes. "What if she can't apologize?" he asked. "What if it's not in her wiring?" I took a breath. "Then she and I will live on different floors of your life. You may visit both, but not under my roof." His shoulders lifted as if something heavy had settled on them in a less awkward way. "You're serious," he said, not as a question. "Serious enough to change locks in the dark," I said, letting a little humor into the room. He managed a small laugh. "You always were the bravest person I know," he said. "No," I corrected gently. "I'm just the oldest person who knows where the keys are." When he left, I carried 2 boxes to the porch and handed them to him. He held them like they might break. "I'm going to fix this," he said, as if he were promising to repair a cracked tile. "Fix yourself first," I said. "Then we'll see what can be built." He kissed my forehead, the way he did at the airport the first time he left for college, and walked to the truck. I watched until he turned the corner because mothers have rituals they don't outgrow. The phone rang before I got back to the kitchen. "Mrs. Delgado?" a polished voice said. "This is Claire from Meadow and Lane Mediation. We specialize in family transitions. We understand there's been a conflict at your residence, and we'd be happy to facilitate a conversation that respects everyone's needs." I closed my eyes. "Did Riley hire you?" I asked. "We received an inquiry from a Ms. Riley Bennett," she confirmed, still honeyed. "Our process is gentle and non-judgmental." "My process is to be asked before strangers call my private number," I said. "We don't cold call," she said quickly. She provided it. Thank you for the transparency, I said. We will not be needing your services. Please remove my contact information. Of course, she said, still professional, still warm. If you change your mind, I won't, I said, and hung up. I stood with the receiver still in my hand and let annoyance turn into clarity. Riley wasn't sitting in shame. She was building a case. She would triangulate me if I allowed it. I called Carmen from church, a paralegal who has read more small print than most judges. I explained the situation. She listened, then said, "You're fine. Sole owner, no rent agreement, no tenancy created by formality, just family. You can decide who enters. If they try to get clever, we get clean. A brief letter reciting ownership, invitation-only access, and a promise not to dispose of their property. Keep everything civil. Document dates and times. I baked you a pie last week, I said. I'll bake 2 this week. Make it apple, she said. And breathe." Late afternoon brought Mrs. Patel from across the street with a container of saffron rice and the kind of neighborly gossip that keeps history honest. "That young woman," she said, eyes bright. "She yelled at the pool service like they were children. I told my husband, in that house, only one queen." She patted my arm. "You are not alone, Ruth." "I know," I said, and the rice smelled like someone else's childhood and made me weepy in a good way. At dusk, a black SUV I didn't recognize stopped in front of my house. A woman in a sleek coat stepped out like a punctuation mark. She was Riley with 20 extra years and money. Neat blonde bob, expensive sunglasses even in fading light, a mouth made for both compliments and complaints. She didn't knock shyly. She tapped like my door was a hotel concierge. "Mrs. Delgado," she said when I opened it to the chain. "I'm Elaine Bennett, Riley's mother." She offered a hand through the gap, which is not how handshakes work. I didn't take it. "What can I do for you, Ms. Bennett?" I asked, polite enough to make rudeness look obvious if it arrived. She gave me a smile that would photograph well. "I'm here to resolve this unpleasantness," she said briskly. "It's gotten out of hand. My daughter is distraught. Adam is missing work. Your decision to change the locks was dramatic." "My decision was boundary, not theater," I said. Her smile thinned. "Look, I understand you're attached to this little place," she said, glancing past me with a cataloger's eye. "But we're all family now. You'll adjust better if you accept that young couples need autonomy. You can't control everything from your kitchen stool." "I don't control," I said. "I own. There is a difference your daughter has failed to learn." She lifted her chin. "Riley tells me you've never really liked her," she said. "From the start. You've been territorial." "Territory belongs to owners," I replied. I opened my door. She rearranged it without asking. "You call that autonomy. I call it poor manners." Elaine's sunglasses finally came off. Her eyes were steel. "Here's what's going to happen," she said, voice dropping. "You'll hand over keys. They'll stay while they save. You'll keep your opinions in your diary, and when they move, you can have your little kingdom back exactly as you left it." "No," I said. Just that one word, clean as a blade. She blinked, as if unused to simple answers. "Is there a price?" she asked, switching tactics without missing a step. "Do you need incentive? My family can be generous." "My price is respect," I said. "Your money won't buy it because it isn't for sale." She laughed softly. "Or is this about jealousy?" She tried. "Mothers struggle when their sons belong to someone else." "My son is not a coat to be owned," I said. "He is a man. He may belong to himself. In my house, all anyone has to do is behave." "You're going to lose him," she warned, as if predicting whether I should bring an umbrella for. "If your daughter requires him to throw me away to keep her," I answered, "she will lose him on her own. I won't have to help." She swore then, just a whisper, but it told me she had used every polite tool and found no purchase. "What do you want?" she snapped. "Say it plainly." "I want Riley to come to my door without you," I said. "I want her to say, 'I moved your things. I called it my house. I disrespected you. I am sorry.' I want her to mean it. Then we'll talk about living here with rules I will state, and she will follow." Elaine stared, measuring. "You're not budging," she said. "I am a house built on a hill," I said. "Budge is what the wind does." She put her sunglasses back on, though the last light had gone. "You've made an enemy," she said. No, I corrected. I did not make her anything. I told the truth. She will decide what to be. Elaine turned on her heel and got back into the SUV, speaking into her phone before the door even closed. The car left with the smooth confidence of wealth. My porch light buzzed like a faithful bee. Inside, I leaned against the door and exhaled the way you do after lifting a couch. Then I called Sophia. Riley's mother came, I said. She tried to buy respect by the yard. Did you charge double? Sophia asked dryly. I charged her a no, I said. Best price. I'll be there in the morning, she said. Bring your appetite. I'm making chilaquiles for women who make boundaries. Sophia arrived early with a casserole dish and opinions. Chilaquiles for champions, she announced, sliding the pan onto my stove. Eat while you tell me how you denied a rich woman a refund on her attitude. I laughed and told her about Elaine's sunglasses in the dark and the word no landing like a clean note. Sophia kissed the top of my head. I like us better like this, she said. Spines up, spoons ready. We were still washing dishes when a gentle knock sounded. 2 officers stood on my porch, body cams blinking like tired eyes. They were young enough to be my grandchildren, polite enough to be invited in for water. Ma'am, the taller one said, we got a call for a welfare check. Concerned family member thought you might be in distress. Behind them, across the street, a black SUV idled. I didn't need binoculars to know whose eyebrows were behind those tinted windows. I am in excellent welfare, I said, and opened the door wide to prove it. Would you like to see my basil? They smiled despite themselves. We talked in the hallway because kitchens breed confidences, and I didn't want them to mistake my courtesy for permission. I showed them my driver's license, my deed file, the small notebook where I had written dates and times, because Carmen taught me that memory pretends to be better than it is. There's no violence, I said, no confusion, no danger. There is a woman who calls my home her home, and a boundary she doesn't like. I'm not evicting. I am inviting on conditions. The shorter officer nodded, relieved to be in a house where no one was bleeding. This is a civil matter, ma'am, he said. You're within your rights. If they need to pick up items, schedule a time. We can stand by if anyone gets heated. Thank you, I said. I'm serving tea at 3 whether they come or not. They chuckled and left me a card. The SUV pulled away like a disappointed ant. Adam texted 20 minutes later. I'm sorry she called them. Not my idea. I'm at Mark's place for a few nights. Can I swing by for my boots later? I told him I'd leave the boxes on the porch at 5. He sent a heart that looked small on the screen and enormous in my chest. Around noon, Mr. Alvarez wandered over from his garden with a bag of tomatoes and a story. That pretty one, he said delicately, meaning Riley. She told the pool guys last week they were making a mess when they loaded equipment. I saw her throw away the note your Luis wrote on the filter in pencil. Remember? About the sound it makes. I took it back out. He pulled the folded paper from his pocket like a rescued relic. It was Luis's handwriting, careful and round. For a moment the kitchen swam. Thank you, I said. I'll laminate it like a wedding license. At 2, Carmen knocked with a folder and a hug. I typed a letter for you, she said, sliding papers onto my table. Simple and boring, my specialty. It says you're the sole owner, that you're storing their belongings safely, that access is by appointment with you present, and that disrespectful behavior revokes the appointment. It also says you won't discuss the matter with third parties and prefer all communications by text or email. Makes it clean, keeps emotions from pretending to be facts. Will they think it's mean? I asked, because my generation equates structure with unkindness. They'll think it's a closed door, she said. You need one. At 5, I set the boxes on the porch and locked the screen door because habits are what keep bones unbroken. Adam came alone, hat pulled low, shame pulling his shoulders. He lifted the first box and looked up at me through the mesh like a child at a museum display. Thank you, he said. I'll bring your bins back. Keep them, I said. I have more patience than plastic. He hesitated. Riley's not taking this well, he said carefully. She thinks you hate her. Hate is work, I replied. I have a garden. He swallowed a smile. Then he grew serious. She posted something on her private story, he admitted. About controlling mothers. I asked her to take it down. He didn't tell me whether she did. He didn't have to. We both know the internet holds grudges. After he left, I sat at the table with Carmen's letter and a pen. I added one line at the end in my neatest handwriting. We will meet when there is mutual respect. I scanned it with Sophia's contraption and texted a PDF to both Adam and Riley, because if you give ambiguity a bed, it will sleep in your house for years. The evening was slow. I watered the front beds and waved to Mrs. Patel, who blew me a kiss with her whole hand. I made chicken and rice and put aside a portion in case a young man knocked at the lonely hour. I washed my face and rubbed lotion into the hands that have carried more than groceries. At 9, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize sent a screenshot I tried not to read and then read twice. It was a group chat named Brides Forever with 6 women and an enthusiasm for punctuation. Riley's message was highlighted. I'm not apologizing to that woman. She wants me on my knees? Never. She's old, she'll tire out. Or Adam will pick me over the house. I'll make sure he does. Another message below it from someone named Chloe. Tell your mom to call someone again. Cops scare old people. And then a third from Riley. If this doesn't work, we'll push the assisted living angle. Say she's forgetful. Adam owes me. I didn't marry a mama's boy. There are sentences that change the temperature of a room. The air thinned. My stomach did what cars do when they hit ice and you aren't ready. My first instinct was to throw the phone in the sink and run water. But modernity doesn't wash that way. I took a screenshot of the screenshot and forwarded it to Carmen, to Sophia, and to Adam with 4 words. See what I see. Then I put the phone face down and stood very still until my breathing obeyed me again. Adam called within minutes, voice low and urgent. Ma, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I could hear wheels turning behind him, literal or metaphorical, I couldn't tell. Where did you get this? A number I don't recognize, I said. Someone reached their limit. He was quiet for a long time. She can be intense, he said weakly, but the sentence embarrassed him as it stood. Intense is salsa, I answered. This is strategy. I'm coming over, he said. Not tonight, I replied. Sleep where you are. Think with your breath first, then your brain. Come tomorrow after work. Bring the man I raised, not the boy someone wants to keep. He exhaled. Okay, he said. Okay. I made tea because tea gives my hands a job when my head wants to run. I looked at Luis's pencil note about the filter and thought about the ways men love. Through advice, scribbled on metal, and going back for dropped groceries and carrying insult quietly to keep the peace. He would have been less patient than me. He would have handed the young woman her keys and a map. At 10:30, my door camera pinged. I glanced at my phone. Riley on the porch, alone, hair up in a messy knot that probably took 15 minutes to look like that. She held nothing in her hands. She pressed the bell once, twice, a third time, with the insistence of someone used to being let in by bells. I watched on the small screen, the way a person watches rain from inside. She looked directly at the camera and smoothed her expression into something like sorrow. Then she said, loud enough for the microphone, Mrs. Delgado, I'm here to apologize. She waited 30 seconds, then spoke again, more performative. Please open. I want to make things right. Part of me wanted to open. Another part remembered the words from her chat glowing in blue on my small screen. I let the 30 seconds pass. She glanced to the side, whispered something, maybe to the phone in her pocket, maybe to the air, and then left. I texted Adam one final line before bed. Tomorrow is for truth. If she wants to speak, she comes without an audience and with specifics. He sent back, yes, ma'am. Good night. I slept like a log sunk in a river, solid, carried, oddly peaceful. Morning would have its own weather. I had a letter, a plant in sun, a deed in a folder, and enough tea for 2 conversations. Adam showed up after work with sawdust on his cuffs and 2 coffees like peace offerings. He stood on the porch, looked at the doorbell camera as if it were a judge, and lifted the cups. Truce? He asked. Tea later, I said, opening the door. For now, the truth. He came in and set the near 2 hot cups on a coaster, like he remembered manners in the same place he forgot them. I read those messages 10 times, he began. Eyes on the basil instead of me. She says it was venting, that Chloe egged her on. She says she didn't mean it. Words mean themselves, I said. Especially the ones people say when they think they're safe. He flinched but didn't argue. I told her it was ugly, he went on. I told her I won't be used as a weapon. She cried. She said I was choosing you. You're choosing decency, I said. If that feels like choosing me, that's her mirror, not your map. He rubbed his jaw the way he used to when a math problem was a knot. She wants to come talk, he said. Today. She said she tried last night. She came here. She tried a performance, I replied. The camera doesn't take apologies. I do, he exhaled. She said that too, that you were watching. She says you're collecting evidence. I'm collecting my dignity, I said. Evidence comes free with it. He nodded as if my answer slotted into a space he didn't know he had. What do you need from her? He asked. A list? Not a list. A confession, I said. He waited. She needs to say what she did, not what happened to her feelings. She needs to name the disrespect, moving my things, renaming my house, calling the police to rattle me, inviting strangers into my business, plotting to paint me as incompetent. She needs to mean it, and then she needs to accept rules. He looked relieved to have nouns. Rules are good, he said. I can work with rules. We'll meet at 6, I told him. At my table, with Carmen here to take notes. Not a mediator. A witness with a good pen, he swallowed. She'll think that's formal. It is, I said. We are building a bridge. Bridges need plans. He texted with thumbs that used to slam video game controllers. After a moment, his phone chimed. She'll come, he said. Alone. Good, I said. No mothers, no friends, no audience. He turned the coffee cup in his hands. Ma, he said, hesitant. If she can't do this, if she can't say it, what then? Then you two rent a place, I answered, as gently as I could. It'll be small and loud and exactly what you can afford. And you'll learn the sound of your own home without training wheels. He nodded slowly, eyes wet. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. You did, I said, but you also walked back through the door. That counts. After he left, I wiped the table and put out 3 cups, then put one back, then put it out again. Nerves do small dances with crockery when big decisions wait. At 4, my phone jingled with a message from an unknown number. It was a short video recording of a phone screen. The group chat again, scrolling. A voice note from Riley played over the text, her voice low, sharp with adrenaline. If this old woman thinks a deadbolt scares me, she doesn't know me. We'll call. We'll show up with professionals. We'll cry where the camera can hear. Adam hates conflict. He'll fold. Worst case, we make her look forgetful. She's 70, right? We can spin it. By the time we're done, she'll be begging for peace. The sender added only, I can't watch her do this to you. K. Chloe, I thought. Judas with a conscience. I texted back, thank you. Do the right thing for yourself next time, too. I forwarded the clip to Carmen. She replied with a single line, consent to record tonight. I thumbed back, yes, not as a courtroom, as memory's assistant. She sent a thumbs up and a heart because law done with kindness is still law. I took out a yellow legal pad and wrote house rules at the top, then crossed out the heading because the script asks for no headings. But in my kitchen, paper gets to have titles. I wrote, ask before moving anything. Asking includes listening to the answer. My name is on the deed. My decision is the final word on the home's structure and organization. No triangulation. Do not recruit outsiders to force compliance. No posts, no group chats about family disputes. If emotions run hot, we pause. We speak later. We do not shout. We do not insult. Contributions. A fair share to utilities and groceries. Sweat counts, too. Chores shared. Sundays at 5 p.m. Brief check-in on the week. Problems named then, not stored up like winter wood. 1 violation with apology. Repair. 2 Kaizen reconsider. 3. You find your own place. I read the list out loud to the basil because plants don't interrupt. It sounded like adulting, not punishment. I made rice pudding because sugar and cinnamon do what speeches cannot. At 6 sharp, the doorbell chimed the good chime that sounds like a polite person and not like a battering ram. Riley stood on my porch in a navy dress that tried to look serious, hair smoothed, eyes swollen from crying or from trying to look like she had been. She held no flowers this time. Good, I thought. Props are for plays. Behind her, the evening made the street look honest. May I come in? She asked. Yes, I said. Leave your phone on the entry table. She blinked. Why? Because tonight is about talking to people, not to cameras, I said. She hesitated, then set the phone down like it had rights. Carmen sat at the table with her folder closed, notepads and pens neatly arranged as if she were a schoolteacher the first day back. Adam stood behind her chair, hands on the backrest, steadying himself on furniture instead of on me. "Thank you for coming," I said. "Before we begin, I'm going to ask your consent to record this conversation. It's not for the internet. It's so we remember what we promised." Riley glanced at Adam. He gave the smallest nod. "Okay," she said. "I consent." I set a small recorder in the middle of the table. It looked harmless. It was. We sat. I did not offer coffee yet. "Riley," I began, "why are you here?" "To apologize," she said quickly, like a student eager to give the right answer. "For everything. Everything is a big room," I said. "Open some doors," she swallowed. Her hands twisted together and then flattened on the table like birds landing. "I moved your things without asking," she said. "I called it my house. I spoke to Adam in a way that made him speak to you in a way he shouldn't have. I invited friends without telling you. I complained about your cooking like a brat. I called the police for a welfare check to scare you. I contacted a mediator to push you. I talked about you in group chats in an ugly way. I thought if I kept pressure on, you'd give in." She looked at the recorder as if it might spit. "I'm sorry. Why?" I asked. She blinked again. "Because it was wrong," she said. "Because I hurt you." "Because the hotel coffee was bad," Carmen murmured into her notes, and the corner of Riley's mouth betrayed her. "And because the hotel coffee was bad," she admitted, with a small, shameful laugh. "And because Adam is a good man and I am making him smaller." The room breathed. Outside, a siren wailed and then was gone, like a threat remembering it had somewhere else to be. "Thank you," I said. "Now we talk about how we live if we live together." I slid the yellow pad toward her. Her eyes scanned the rules. Her fingers drifted to the line about posts and group chats and flinched, caught. "I can do this," she said too fast. "It's not a test to pass," I replied. "It's a life to live," Adam leaned forward. "I'm adding a rule for myself," he said, voice steady. "I don't raise my voice to my mother. Even when I'm tired, even when my wife is crying. I can be a husband without being a weapon." He looked at me. "I'm sorry, Ma, I was a weapon." "You were a son holding the wrong handle," I said. "Now you know where the grip goes." Riley looked at him, as if seeing a person she had rearranged and then remembered to love. "I agree to the rules," she said, slower now. "I agree to Sundays at 5. I agree to ask. I agree to contribute. I agree to take down anything I've posted and not to post again. I agree to never say my house under this roof unless I'm talking about the house I will one day actually buy." A flicker of humor saved us all a little. "Good," I said, and poured coffee. "Sugar?" "Yes," she said. "Please." The word please did work in that room that no locksmith can do. Riley looked smaller in my dining chair than she ever had in a designer heel. She stirred her coffee and didn't drink it. "I'm ashamed," she said, not looking at the recorder. "It's not a feeling I practice." "Good," Carmen said mildly. "Practice makes permanent." Riley almost smiled. Then she set the spoon down with the kind of care that meant she was trying not to be the bull in my quiet shop anymore. "What happens next?" she asked. I slid a small envelope across the table. Inside were 2 keys on a plain ring. "This is not forgiveness," I said. "You had that when you walked in the door and told the truth. This is trust on probation. 30 days. We live by the rules. We check in Sundays. If it goes well, the keys stay. If not, you two find your own place. No theatrics. No public crying as strategy. Just adulthood." She nodded slowly, as if the word adulthood had weight she hadn't carried in a while. "Okay," she said. 30 days. Adam's shoulders dropped a fraction. He looked like a man who'd been holding a plank and was finally allowed to rest it on sawhorses. "We'll contribute," he said quickly. "Half the utilities, half the groceries, and I'll fix the hinge on the hall closet. It squeaks like a mouse in a violin." "Add a small rent," I said softly. "Not because I need it, because skin in the game makes people behave. $200 a month into the coffee can behind the sugar. If you're smart, you'll forget it's there until you leave, and then you'll have a small goodbye." They both nodded. Carmen wrote, "Pen moving like a violin bow." 2 more conditions," I added. First, you will call Maria, the woman who helps me clean twice a month, and apologize for how you spoke to her that day. You will also double her tip the next 2 visits. Riley winced, then nodded. Yes. Second, I continued, you will rectify your public mess in private spaces. Take down posts. Tell your little chat you were wrong. Do not defend yourself. Do not add but. Just say you behaved badly to a woman who opened her door and you're correcting it. I don't need screenshots. I need the habit in your hands. Her mouth opened, then closed. Yes, she said again, quieter. Carmen capped her pen. One more housekeeping item, she said. No surprise visitors to fight your battles. If Ms. Bennett wants to see this home, she texts Ruth and asks for tea like everyone else. Riley flushed, a color that looked human on her for the first time. I'll tell her. Good, I said. Tell her I brew strong. We ate rice pudding because Sugar Seals promises better than wax. The recorder sat between us, unthreatening. It caught spoons, the scrape of chairs, the small dignity of the word please repeated more than once. When the bowls were empty, Riley stood. May I hug you? She asked. Not yet, I said. We aren't that kind of healed. Try me again on Sunday. She nodded, accepting a speed limit she didn't set. Adam squeezed my hand, gratitude and apology moving through his skin like electricity. They left with the keys and the rules and the envelope of grown-up. I washed the cups and looked out at the basil, approving the evening. Carmen lingered to help me dry. You did well, she said. You didn't punish. You parented. I'm tired, I admitted. All righteous people are, she said. Sleep. Sunday will come. It did, with roast chicken and a clock that didn't rush. At 5, they came home carrying grocery bags and humility. Riley handed me a receipt before I asked. Adam installed felt pads on the dining chairs so the floor wouldn't scold. We sat and did our first check-in like a team that intends to win without cheating. Riley said she had apologized to Maria and scheduled the next visit with twice the tip. She said she texted the chat and the messages were read and ignored, which is a kind of forgiveness women give each other when they're embarrassed together. She said she told her mother to stop calling cops on old women with good knees. I believed most of it. I believed enough. On Tuesday, I found a sticky note on the counter in Riley's careful handwriting. Moved my laptop back to the bedroom. Sorry for the cafe table experiment. Also, dinner at 7? I wrote beneath it, thank you. 7 works. Your turn to chop onions, bring your brave. That night, she cried cutting onions and didn't apologize for crying. Progress comes in tears, too. On Thursday, Mr. Alvarez knocked to borrow sugar and returned it with interest, as always. He tilted his head toward the backyard. She moved the basil back to the sun again, he said approvingly. That will save you from sinning. I have enough sins, I said. I don't need to add botany. Friday, Elaine called. I hear you've made my daughter jump through hoops, she said without hello. We all need exercise, I replied. She can do squats elsewhere, Elaine snapped. She'll apologize, fine, but I won't have her reduced to a supplicant in your little kingdom. Your daughter is not a supplicant, I said. She is a citizen learning our laws, same as Adam did when he was 2, and figured out that crayons do not live on walls. Elaine made a sound like a laugh that didn't find its jacket. You think you've won, she said. I hope we all do, I answered, and ended the call before she could sell me another problem. The second Sunday came. We kept the schedule. We lit a candle, unscented, and passed around a notebook labeled Family Log because sometimes memory needs paper. We wrote what went well and what needed work. Riley wrote, I wanted to correct you about the laundry but asked a question instead. It didn't kill me. Adam wrote, I didn't raise my voice on the phone even when the site foreman was an idiot. I wrote, I let someone else load the dishwasher and did not sneak behind to rearrange like a gremlin. We laughed, not to dismiss the work but to celebrate it. Laughter has always been this house's second language. Midweek, Riley knocked at my bedroom door. May I come in? She asked. Yes, I said. She held out a frame. Inside was Luis's pencil note about the pool filter, copied and laminated, the original safe behind it. Mr. Alvarez told me, she said. I thought it should live where we won't lose it again. I sat on the edge of my bed holding paper like a hand. Thank you, I said. I meant it with all the years between us. May I hug you now? She asked. Yes, I said, we did. It was brief and real. On the third Sunday, Riley burned the rice and laughed instead of blaming the pot. Adam fixed the hall closet hinge and oiled the sticky window. I sat at the table with a cup of tea and felt my home exhale. Elaine sent a text that said simply, "Dinner next month?" I replied, "Only if you bring a story and leave the sunglasses at home." On the 30th day, we put the keys in a small bowl by the door, the way other people put seashells from a trip they want to remember. We didn't make a speech. Carmen stopped by with a store-bought pie and pretended it was mine. Sophia hugged Riley without warning and called her teammate. Maria left fresh flowers on the counter after her shift. A small, silent treaty of women who do work that never ends. That night, Adam lingered in the doorway. "We okay?" he asked. "We're good," I said. "But being good is not a permanent state. It's a practice," he nodded. "I'll practice." He kissed my cheek and went to bed beside his wife like a man who had crossed a bridge and planned to keep it maintained. When the house went quiet, I sat by the basil and thought about what had been saved and what had been surrendered. I had given up the illusion that love and peace are the same thing. I had acquired the truth that peace requires borders drawn with good ink and better resolve. I had learned that forgiveness may be free, but re-entry has a door and you have to knock. Spring came without asking permission, the way good seasons do. The basil got impatient and I put it in a bigger pot. Adam said that's what happens to people too, when they have room to grow. 30 days became 60 without anyone raising a voice, and I discovered something I wish I'd known as a younger woman. Peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of agreed-upon rhythms. We cooked in turns, labeled leftovers with polite sticky notes, and learned each other's shortcuts without tripping on them. On Sundays at 5, we kept our ritual. Some weeks we had nothing dramatic to report. We still met. That was the point. One afternoon, Riley knocked on my bedroom door with a folder and the expression of someone who has decided to pay a debt before interest compounds. "I spoke to my boss," she said. "I asked to move to a different team. I told her I've been operating like a crisis machine even when there is no crisis. I told her I'm learning not to sell pressure where patience belongs." She set the folder on my dresser. Inside was a proposed budget, lines for rent and groceries, and a savings plan that looked like it might actually work. "We'll be out in 6 months," she said. "Not because we're fleeing, because that's what grown-ups do." I ran a finger down the neat columns and nodded. "I will miss your onion tears," I said. "We'll host Sunday dinners in the new place," she replied. "You can leave and not do any dishes." I laughed at luxury defined correctly. Elaine invited me to lunch at a hotel that keeps their water glasses like trophies. She arrived without sunglasses and with a story instead of a strategy, which is how peace usually begins. "My mother wasn't kind," she said after the salads. "I built a life where I control the rooms because it felt safer than remembering. I taught my daughters to do the same. I'm sorry for the echoes. She didn't ask for forgiveness. I gave it anyway because it costs less than resentment and buys more." We split a dessert and judged it gently. I started a little Thursday group at church for women who had felt erased in their own kitchens. We called it Keys and Kettles because Sophia said alliteration makes people feel like they're attending something official. We didn't fix anyone's family. We wrote our names on paper the way deeds carry their names, and we practiced sentences that don't shake. No, not like that. "Yes, be home by 9. I will think and answer tomorrow." Maria came and told us stories about every house she has cleaned, the quiet heroism of routine in other people's messes. We passed around a tin where anyone could put $5 for a neighbor's deposit when the day came. It filled faster than gossip. On a warm Saturday, the pool filter made the exact noise Luis had warned it would. Adam took the laminated note off the hook and fixed the problem with a wrench and a whistle, and I felt him become the man his father trained him to be without speeches. Later, he and Riley brought home a plant I didn't need, a timid lavender, and asked where it might like to live. "Near the patio," I said, "where it can see the sun arriving." Riley set it there with 2 hands like prayer. "I see the sun earlier now," she said. It was always there. I was in a hallway I thought was a room. They found an upstairs apartment 2 bus lines away with floors that creaked and a view of a tree that would be beautiful in September. They painted one wall the faintest green and sent me pictures only after I asked. On moving day, the neighborhood turned out the way good neighborhoods do. Mr. Alvarez with his dolly, Mrs. Patel with samosas, Sophia with tape and opinions. We loaded their history into a truck that didn't look big enough. Before they left, Adam pressed a small envelope into my palm. Inside was a card that said, in his awkward engineer handwriting, "For the roof that waited." The coffee can money rattled more than it used to. "Use it," he said, "or keep it there to scare us if we forget." Riley hugged me then, properly. No performance, no tears, just warmth. "Thank you for making me learn the difference between apology and access," she whispered. "I like myself better now." "Me too," I said, and meant it. The first Sunday they weren't here, I set 3 plates out of habit and put 1 back. Then I walked to their place with a tinfoil pan and a story. We sat on their floor because the couch was still 2 days from delivery, and we laughed the way people laugh when life has bumped them into a better lane. They had put our family log on their shelf, a fresh notebook beside it with a label in Riley's careful hand. New house, same rules. I ran my thumb over the words and felt something unbreak. As the months turned themselves like pages, I noticed I had more minutes than chores. I filled them with small miracles, teaching a neighbor's granddaughter to cook beans that don't apologize, reading on the porch while the street made the ordinary music of people who are not at war, learning to use the stupid remote without muttering. Sometimes I took the long bus to sit by the river and practice being a person without tasks. Peace needs practice too. If you're still with me, thank you. Tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I read those like postcards on a quiet afternoon. And because stories teach better than scolding, answer me this. If you were me, would you have changed the locks or waited and hoped politeness would fix what it never fixes? There isn't one right answer, just your honest one. This story is fiction stitched from real cloth. Names and places change. The ache and the hope do not. We don't tell this to judge. We tell it so someone stirring soup at a small stove will hear a sentence and stand up straighter in her own kitchen. If faith is your language, may God bless your boundaries. If it isn't, may your own good sense bless them just the same. On my fridge, beside a calendar that forgives more than it remembers, hangs a photo of 3 people cooking in a small kitchen. One of them is me, smiling into a future I used to fear and now trust. The other 2 are learning to be a couple without mistaking love for leverage. The basil is out of frame, but I know where it is. It's right where it belongs, in the sun, growing, insisting gently that you can cut what you need and it will still be itself tomorrow. When I lay down at night, the house sounds like it's supposed to, pipes sighing, wood settling, the faint tick of a clock that refuses to hurry. Sometimes I think of Luis and say out loud, "We kept it standing, love." Sometimes I think of Elaine and hope she tells a better story next time. Often I think of all the women who will listen to this and recognize the opening line in their own voice. "Don't you dare argue with my wife in her house." And I hope the next line is theirs, steady and simple. "Son, look at the deed." Then I hope they make tea and hold their keys and remember that a lock is not a wall. It is a door that waits for the right knock. 2 more stories are waiting for you on the end screen. One about a ring that wasn't worthless, and one about a will that read more than money. I think you'll find your own courage hiding in them. Until next time, be well, be kind, and be the owner of your life.